Hey, it's Lula Anderson and welcome back to the channel. Really hope you enjoyed your weekend. My weekend was awesome, man. Like, I enjoyed it with my friends. We're having a book club. So yeah, man, you gotta read books. I haven't read a book in a while, so I'm kind of a hypocrite. But like, even if you don't read a book, but you have to be watching something that can really develop you. So the book club is really simple. The book club that we're having, we don't have to read the same book. So you can do a movie review if you're not much of a book reader, or maybe you can do a book review, a normal one, or you can even do a poem. Some people rap. So it was pretty nice. It was like a mini braai at the same time. We're having a book club. But yeah, that's that. But in other news, an update on Ramaphosa, right? So the only update is his whole scandal or his crime of not reporting a crime is now international news. So yeah, that's it. So I saw it on the New York Times. I was like, oh, now it's an international news. Oh, but okay, we all know that nothing will happen. But anyways, that's that. But anyways, let's get to today's topic, which is going to be slightly different, but it's also on the same, I would say, topic or wavelength on the type of things that I talk about. So in Britain, right, there was a World War, obviously, World War II. So during World War II, there were a lot of black soldiers that went to, they passed through the UK, and you know what happens. So these babies, they were born through that. So these babies, obviously, when they grew up, they experienced a lot of discrimination. So some of the fathers, they fathered the babies but never went back. And the reason for that is that maybe some of the mothers, it was not really easy to communicate with the fathers, right? Obviously, sending mail and all of that. With the racism and white supremacy, you wouldn't be able to do that. So these babies grew up in a very difficult time. So there's a mini documentary series, like 18 minutes from the BBC. So we're just going to react on that and see what the women have to say, because it's really heartbreaking what happened, man. So yeah, let's roll the clip.
It's estimated that at least 2 million American servicemen passed through the UK during World War II, and tens of thousands of them were black.
Okay, so that's the reason I tell most black African people, do not go to Europe unless it's an emergency. Unless, okay, maybe if you're going on vacation, right, you must make sure that you go on a route of, when they give you this catalog, they actually tell you must go to this hotel, you have a tour guide and all of that. Okay, if you're doing that, you can do that. But don't go out of course if you're visiting Europe, because this lady is going to explain her life, right? Her life was really bad because she grew up during, I would say, after World War II, because there were soldiers that went to Europe, and she was one of the kids that were born from that. It was a black soldier and a white mother from Europe, right? So what happens is these kids that grew up teasing her, harassing her, they're still alive. They're still there. They're still in Europe. Because this lady, if she was born in 1940, she's not even 100 years old. She's not even 80 years old. She's still well and doing nice. So, man, like, be careful.
The African American GIs stationed in Britain were forced to abide by the racial segregation laws that applied in the deep south of the US. Lucy Bland is a historian and the author of Britain's Brown Babies.
It's a segregated army. It says segregated in 1948. The vast majority of the GIs came from the Deep South, and white GIs attacked black GIs with impunity. That's what's so shocking. The thing is, the American soldiers were all under the jurisdiction of the American military.
Someone once said that you can never run away from white supremacy. From the earth itself until the whole universe, white supremacy touches the whole universe, because you can't even go to the moon. Like, if you were to build a base right now on the moon, they'll come for you. They'll be like, oh, what the hell are you doing? You can't even go to Mars. So if right now you decide, okay, I'm building a rocket, I want to go to Mars, man, white supremacy will be on your eyes. I'm like, oh, okay, what are you doing, man? Like, you shouldn't be going to Mars. So what I'm saying is the dominant society, the people that are ruling everything, they touch on the whole world. So even the black people during World War II, they wouldn't expect to go anywhere without the arm of white supremacy being on their throat, man. That's how bad it is. Even today, it's like that, man. There is no place or there is nowhere you can go where white supremacy doesn't touch. It's the way we are living.
They were pretty much all over the country, particularly sort of home counties, East Anglia.
And these areas were very white areas.
very white areas. Many people had never seen a black person before, except probably on a film.
And how were the black GIs treated by the locals?
Well, the black GIs were often really liked, and they were seen as much more attractive than the white GIs because they were seen as much politer. So I think for many, they were very attractive.
Well, I think the black GIs were seen as more attractive because they were different, right? Because in some other places, maybe you've never even met a Caucasian person, an Indian person, a Chinese person. When you see that person for the first time, they might even seem more attractive than the normal person that you're used to, especially women. You know, women, like, when you're different, they're like, oh my God, someone different, someone that I've never seen before. So you are more likely to be attractive, as well as their manners. As they mentioned, they had good manners, because obviously when you're thinking that you're an underclass, as well, I would say, black people in general, we are well-mannered. We are the most well-mannered people out there, man. There's no one who's well-mannered than black people. The only time black people are not well-mannered is if there are circumstances, but culturally, we are the most well-mannered people ever. So it's not really surprising that they were considered well-mannered as well.
Local people in Ipswich were very surprised at how badly the black GIs were treated compared to the white.
Babs Gibson Ward is one of about 2,000 babies born to white British women and black American GIs during World War II.
Man, okay, that's a lie. I don't think white people were surprised that black people were being mistreated. I mean, most of the media they consumed, I'm sure black people were depicted in the most horrible way. So they would be like, okay, black people that are being mistreated, okay, they kind of deserve it.
Then relationships started to form, and both my mother and her sister paired up with GIs.
Her mother fell pregnant in 1944, but she never told her black GI boyfriend about the baby. He returned to the US without knowing. When her mother's Navy officer husband returned after the war, he didn't question whether he was Babs's father until later.
My skin was very fair, and so she thought, I think, that she was going to get away with it and pass me off as his. But by the time the following late spring happened, my skin started to darken significantly, and it was obvious that I wasn't his child. But my stepfather, when he realised I was put out in the garden, at the bottom of the garden, and not allowed to come into the house, which meant that she knew that I would have to be put into care.
All right, now, so you know what they say, once you go black, you never go back. And oh my God. Okay, so this lady cheated on her husband for this black guy. And it goes to show, man, like, this whole skin color thing is just an illusion. Racism is just an illusion. Because think about it, even back during apartheid, Sophia Town, people were falling in love left, right, and center, and the apartheid government was like, nah, man. If we intermingle with these people, if we have kids with these people, our bloodline will be annihilated. And that's the way things go. Because if you're going to mix bloodlines, you know that as white people, you'll be annihilated, especially if you're in Africa. Like, after 3 generations, there won't be any white people. So that's quite unfortunate. But at the end of the day, skin color doesn't matter. You have to fall in love with whoever you want. Skin color doesn't matter.
They came forward, and it seemed like a new start. But Babs faced racial abuse at school.
People in the neighbourhood wouldn't allow their children to play with me. And then when I went to school, most of the hostility was actually encouraged by my classroom teacher. He would actually get the children to ridicule me. He would take me out into the playground with the children and tell them that I could climb a pole like a monkey climbs a tree. And so if they asked me, then I should demonstrate this at playtime. And this used to really, really upset me.
Okay, so there's this other disease called monkeypox. Yeah, it's a thing. And most people are really saying it without cringing, right? You can't be a black people and be proud of saying monkeypox. That's the thing. Any disease that has to do with black people, originating from black people, and you're calling it monkeypox, that's really offensive, because there's a huge stigma of black people being called monkeys, right? Even Darwin, his theory of evolution, it was from ape. Ape, he meant us, black people, right? To humans as in white people. So when someone does this, and it's really saddening, we never really think about how these kids, grew up in Europe when they were left by their black parents, the black GIs, and left with their white parents. We never really think about these things.
That I didn't have the same brain as white children. I wasn't being taught like the other children. I was just left to play at the back of the class.
And when you were racially abused by your teacher and made to feel stupid, did you understand why that was happening?
No, I didn't. I really didn't. They more or less said that because I was different, that I didn't have the same intelligence as all of the other children, the white children in the class. But I refused to believe it.
Another sad thing about this is that to this day, it's still happening.
I'm going to show you what she saw.
I saw it, but I was like, no, I didn't see that.
One mom was watching her 3-year-old son's classroom at Parker Chase Preschool in Roswell. You'll see the teacher standing in the scarf, seem to place her foot on one child's fingers as the other teacher gets in the face of another little girl. Then the first, 40-year-old Zina Alaswani, uses her leg to shove the girl in the back. I spoke with that.
Okay, let's be realistic, right? When you take your child to a white person's daycare, they won't take care of that child as much as a black person would take care of that child. The chances are, because at the end of the day, you won't know if that white person is racist or not. At least if you're dealing with a black person, they can be mean, generally mean. So that white person, they might be mean and racist at the same time. So you're dealing with a very dangerous situation. So I would advise most people to actually avoid this. If you can take your child to a black-owned preschool or daycare, please do that, because we are living in a very scary world out there. It might seem like, okay, oh no, you're saying all white people are racist. No, don't take your chances. That's what I'm saying.
Babs Gibson Ward had a difficult relationship with her birth mother, who had split up with her husband and was abusive to her mixed-race child. Babs was musically gifted, but her mother ignored teachers who encouraged her talents. Eventually, Babs left home and trained as a nurse. It was at this point that she started to try to find out more about her birth father. But even getting basic information from the children's charity Bernardo's, which held her records, wasn't easy.
Okay, this is just a reminder, right? It doesn't mean that if a white supremacist marries a black person, that white supremacist stops from being a white supremacist. Doesn't work like that. That kind of person can have black children, a lot of them, and abuse them, kill them, or even do all sorts of kind of vile things. So it doesn't mean that if a white supremacist has black children, already that person is not racist or anything like that.
Any reference to him.
This lack of knowledge about their family histories has had a hugely detrimental effect and meant that many of these children have gone on to have very difficult lives. Lucy Bland.
They really had a kind of history that was sort of wiped out for them as well. So they were growing up in kind of ignorance about their roots, about their heritage. So that lack of belonging, not only were the British not embracing them as British, and they were legally British with British mothers, but they knew nothing about their past. And, they experienced so much kind of ostracism and racism and stigma that I think they were really constructed as kind of outsiders. And I think that was incredibly hard for them. So it's been an unknown history that should be known.
Many of the so-called brown babies, now in their early 70s, have spent a lifetime searching for their parents, and Babs knows that being able to trace her father, she is one of the luckier ones.
Okay, some people might say it doesn't matter if you were raised by a single parent. It does matter to some extent, because think about it. Both parents' bloodline might actually guide you as to what kind of person you want to be. Or if you're in a situation, they might tell you about your great-grandparent that handled this situation in this way. They might tell you that, okay, your bloodline are these kind of people. It might actually guide you, because most people, if they tell you that, oh, your ancestry, you were kings and queens, you're like, oh my God, I was a king. so you get motivated, right? You get to be a different kind of person. You get to have that kind of drive. Imagine if you didn't know both of your parents and you were adopted. you kind of don't have a gut, especially when you mature, you become an older person. When you're young, you might not even notice, right? But when you're like 30, 40, that's when it really matters. Because for people, we want to know where we are from. It actually matters when you actually grow up. Because when I was young, I was like, oh, my great-grandparents, oh, it doesn't matter. But now I want to know. I want to know from way back, from the 1800s or something, or even the 1500s. I want to know everyone in my bloodline. So even this lady, as she's speaking, I know the heartbreak she might have felt knowing that she doesn't know like her real parent, and her white parents, she's rejecting her. And that's what really happens in biracial families. The black side of the family is the one that will be willing to accept the child who's biracial. But, the white parents is not really that easy, or like the white grandparents is not really that easy most of the time, because of their bias that they might have. So, but anyways, that's the episode for today. That's the video for today. I really hope you enjoyed. Really hope you got something out of this, man. If you really did, just slap a like. Just subscribe. You know how it is. Even on my socials, Lula Manderson at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Even on my podcast, you can catch me there. I'm there Monday to Friday. So anyways, for now, sharp.